Welcome to the FedLife podcast with Dan Sipe from Serving Those Who Serve. In this podcast, Dan draws from years of financial experience to help federal employees overcome challenges that every Fed can relate to. Join us for this journey as we reach, teach, and serve to help you make the right financial decisions. Now, on to the show.
Hello and welcome to this episode of the FedLife podcast. Once again, I am with you. I am Dan Sipe. I am the branch manager here at Serving Those Who Serve and Lee Sipe & Associates. And I like to begin, as I always do, with saying thank you. Thank you for your service. Thank you for your service through all this COVID stuff. You know, keeping everything running. Every now and again on our Facebook, I'll get some snide little comment from somebody that says, civil servants don't serve. And I just delete them because I know you do. You know you do. Everybody who listens to this knows that you do. And we are grateful. So you are always going to hear it here. Eventually, I'm going to wear everybody down to the point that they do that as well. So you can always count on the fact that you will be thanked for your service here. The other thing you can always count on is that we will have the guru with us. And he's back once again, Ed Zurndorfer, as part of our ongoing mission to reach, teach, and serve you. At the outset, I need to say the opinions of our guest Ed Zurndorfer are not the opinions of Raymond James or Serving Those Who Serve. This podcast is presented for information only and not intended to be taken as advice. All listeners should consult their personal advisors before taking any action. If you do not have a personal advisor, hit us up at Serving Those Who Serve. We will help you any way we can. Once again, we will follow Ed's FedZone articles. And Ed, you authored an article this month that won't apply to everybody, but I think is still extremely important because the thing is, folks, we're going to have podcasts and articles that will apply to every single Fed, and then we'll have ones that apply to a more narrow group, but you will always be able to find them at our site. So that's just the way we're going to work. And this time, Ed, you tackled understanding CSRS offset. And brother, this is something that just has folks running hither and yon to try and get good information. So I'm happy to be part of the place where they can come and clear up those misconceptions. So let's talk CSRS offset. Let's begin with some history and foundation. What is it, and how might a federal employee find themselves covered by it?
Absolutely, Dan. I've been doing retirement seminars for federal employees, now webinars, for about 25 years now. And I can tell you that when I do CSRS, those individuals go by CSRS, I occasionally have some CSRS offset people in the classroom or in the webinar. And these individuals really don't know how they ended up being CSRS offset, and they have tons and tons of questions that unfortunately cannot be answered by their HR people, their personnel office, or Social Security, or even OPM sometimes is questioning how they ended up being CSRS offset. So I am so happy to be able to try to straighten out a few things, and hopefully we can help those CSRS offset not only employees that are left in the government, there are not that many, but there are many, many CSRS offset retirees that still have lots of questions. So again, this is a service to these people who work so hard to get to that point, and they deserve to get the answers to their questions correctly answered. So as background,
100%.
Anybody who entered federal service as an initial hire before January 1st, 1984 was put into the older retirement system, the civil source retirement system, because that's all there was.
Sure.
But as you know, in the early 1980s, Congress was making change to the Social Security system. Keep in mind that CSRS employees did not pay into Social Security. I am a retired CSRS employee. I retired from federal service back in January 2006. I came into government early 1970s. I was under CSRS, never put a dime into Social Security while in federal service. Now, when Congress created the newer retirement system, also in the early 1980s, known as the Federal Employees Retirement System, one of the major changes that came about was that effective with the FERS retirement system, all federal employees hired after December 31st, 1983 will be put into the newer retirement system FERS and will pay into Social Security. So Social Security is a retirement system in which federal employees pay into the FERS retirement system. They also pay into TSP, and they're covered by Social Security. So it's really a tripod of retirement income they're going to get when they retire from federal service. Now, Congress also passed some rules regarding CSRS employees and who left federal service. They decided they didn't want to stay under the old retirement system, and if they were to leave federal service, but then decide, that was a bad decision. Maybe I'll go back into federal service. So Congress, when they created FERS, they passed one rule that said that only newly hired employees coming in after December 31st, 1983 will be put under FERS. And another rule that Congress passed was that if a CSRS employee with at least 5 years of service under the old system leaves federal service for at least 1 year, and then they come back to federal service sometime after December 31st, 1983, they cannot go under FERS. Why? Because they're not a newly hired employee. They had previous federal service. So now, I hope you're sitting down, Dan, but I want to say this, that Congress also passed it. You're sitting down. Okay.
Yep.
I also have to tell you, Dan, that Congress passed another law that said that if a departed CSRS employee, someone with at least 5 years of federal service, leaves federal service and they come back after December 31st, 1983, they cannot go back into CSRS.
Oops.
So where does this leave this newly hired employee? In no-no land. So
Gotcha.
Congress quickly, in 1984-85, created something called SERVS offset. Now, what SERVS offset is, it's a combination. You pay both into the civil service retirement system and you're covered by Social Security. It's a combination. It's just to be a little more specific here. When you're a CSRS employee, 7% of your paycheck is going into civil service retirement disability system. That 7% is deducted from your paycheck. That's your contribution for your retirement.
Yep.
When you are a FERS employee, you also are paying 7% into retirement, but 6.2%, that's the FICA tax. Remember I said that the FERS employees are covered by Social Security, so they have to pay the 6.2% FICA tax, and they also put 0.8% of their paycheck into the FERS Retirement Disability Fund. Do the math here, Dan. 0.8 plus 6.2 equals 7%. That's identical what a SERVS offset employee pays into for their retirement. They put 0.8% of their paycheck into the Civil Service Retirement Disability Fund, and they're covered by Social Security, and they pay 6.2% FICA tax. There's the 7%. That's how it's divided up. So in a nutshell, CSRS and SERVS offset are really the same. A SERVS offset employee has the same rules regarding when they can retire in terms of minimum number of years of service and age, and they get a CSRS annuity, and they can, if they want to, contribute to the TSP with no matching. This is unlike FERS employees. Everything's the same. The problem comes in when that employee retires. If they retire before age 62, they're going to get what I call a pure CSRS annuity. But then when they turn 62, the Office of Personnel Management is going to recompute their CSRS annuity and do what's called an offset. And that offset is, in short, it's a little more complicated, but I'll shorten it. That offset is the amount of Social Security that the employee earned as a SERVS offset employee. That's Social Security benefit they earn, but only as a SERVS offset employee. Let's keep in mind, Dan, that if you work in private industry, you also pay into Social Security. And typically a serves offset employee who leaves federal government. They're under CSRS, they go work in private industry. And then they decide, well, they want to go back to federal service. That's how they went back into serves offset. They earn Social Security credits while working in private industry. So when they come back to federal service, they're going to earn their Social Security credits as a serves offset employee. And the amount of Social Security benefit they earned as a serves offset employee will be subtracted from their CSRS annuity. That's why they call it the offset. The offset. Gotcha. Okay? And many CSRS offset employees are not even aware. All of a sudden, they see this reduction at age 62 in their CSRS annuity. Where's this coming from? Where's this coming from? Now, if a serves offset employee retires after age 62, and many do, then the offset calculation is done by OPM when the annuity is adjudicated. In other words, when they're calculated. So from day one, they're getting a reduction in their annuity, their CSRS annuity. Once again, Dan, many service offset employees do not understand this. Why am I being reduced? Why is my CSRS annuity being reduced? What I try to emphasize in explaining this to service offset employees is the fact that you're really not losing that amount being deducted from your CSRS annuity. Says, what do you mean I'm not losing it? I say that's your Social Security you earned. You earned a Social Security check, and you're going to get all of it. You're going to get all of it when you apply for it. You have to apply for your Social Security check. Just, it's not. You're not going to. Social Security is not going to all of a sudden send you a check. You have to apply for it. And when you apply for your Social Security check, the amount of your CSRS annuity that was offsetted by that Social Security you earned in federal service, you'll get it back. Yep. And they say, you mean I'll get it back? Yeah. You're getting one check from OPM, a CSRS annuity check, and you're going to get one check from Social Security, but you have to apply for the one from Social Security. Gotcha. So that's in a nutshell what happens.
Ed, you say some people are kind of surprised they don't know they're in it. How can if somebody's active right now in federal service, planning on retiring, how do they check? Where should they be looking?
Great question, Dan. And I will tell you, I've been doing these seminars, webinars over about 25 years now. And the first thing I asked participants in it, whether it's a CSRS seminar webinar or a FERS seminar webinar, today we're doing this is for CSRS employees, this is for FERS employees. Okay, everybody here is covered by CSRS. This is a CSRS webinar. Everybody here is covered by FERS, the FERS webinar, and everybody shakes their hand. Yeah. And I asked the question, Dan. Okay, can you please prove to me you're in the right retirement system?
Yep. I know that's one of your favorites.
I jokingly say, has it ever happened, Dan, that a federal employee was put in the wrong retirement system?
I have heard that there is, and there's actually an agency for it.
And Congress passed a law back in 2010 called the FERCA law. That's FERCCA, which stands for the Federal Erroneous Retirement Coverage Correction Act. To help those employees, this is a special office at OPM, help that signs that is in which employees who are put in the wrong retirement system were assigned to, so this office can help get everything straightened out. But in answer to your question, a lot of times the employees say, well, it says so on my leave and earnings statement. And I emphasize, your leave and earnings statement is not official. Your leave and earnings statement is an indication that you're covered by CSRS or FERS.
Right.
What is official is your standard Form 50. Standard Form 50, box number 30. It says retirement plan. Retirement plan. That is the official indicator that you're covered by, whatever retirement system you're covered by. And if your service offset, Dan, I'll give you the code. It's a code C as in Charles or E as in Edward.
Gotcha.
Please don't ask me what the codes mean. I'm strictly the messenger.
I'm not going to do that, Ed. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that. So if somebody sees this and they see they've got the C or the E, okay, then at this point, Fed needs to be asking themselves the question of what should be going into me determining what my retirement income is. So if they're going out before 62, they're going to have a higher number, but at 62, whether they apply for Social Security or not, that offset's going to kick in, right?
Absolutely. OPM will do that. When an employee is close to their 62nd birthday, they contact Social Security Administration to ask the Social Security Administration what that retirees, I should say, Social Security benefit is at that point, at age 62.
Okay. So
and from there, they do the calculation.
And you covered a good bit of this already in your intro, but let's just take a little bit of step back here. So if somebody's CSRS or CSRS offset, as far as when they can retire, what their earliest retirement dates would be, those are all pretty much the same, correct?
Absolutely. CSRS rules regarding eligibility, when they can retire, calculation of the CSRS annuity are the same for CSRS and service offset. They're identical.
Okay. And folks, I always stress this. Make sure we're happy to provide this if it's an easy listen for you. We hope it's an easy listen. Be sure to grab Ed's article in the Fed Zone. That's fed-zone.com, because he gives lots of tables in these things, and the examples that he writes are terrific. So, Ed, I know with you, if there's a formula, you always like to put it in there. So I noticed that in reading through it, you've got a formula, which is total years of CSRS offset service divided by 40. Why don't you walk people through what that formula means, and then we'll be certain to steer them back to the article for the examples.
The formula that will calculate the amount of the offset. Let's say somebody retires before age 62. We'll make it easy. So let's say they retired at age 60, Dan. From age 60 to age 62, they will get a pure CSRS annuity based on the number of years of service under serves and serves times what I call the accrual factor, which is roughly about 2%, times their high through average salary. That's pretty standard. Okay.
Sure.
But then when they turn 62, the amount of the offset, I'll say it slowly, is the lesser of the amount of the Social Security monthly retirement benefit they earned between December 31st, 1983, under what was called under the interim serves offset provisions, which was really 1984 and 1985. Mm-hmm. Now, let's say the lesser of A. I just gave A. Now, then B is the amount attained by taking their total years of serves offset service, and by the way, partial years are rounded to the nearest whole number, so it's not going to be like 15.75, it'll be 16 then, or 15.20, it'll be 15. So you take your total years of offset service divided by 40 times the serves offset annuitants Social Security benefit at age 62. Got it. And this is what Social Security gets. It's going to be the lesser of A or B. Tell you what, Dan, let's do an example. It's a lot easier if we do an example here. Okay?
Sure.
And I'm going to use the same example as I had in that column, in the Fed Zone column that appeared in February.
So we're talking about Joseph.
Okay, we have a person named Joseph. He entered federal service initially on July 23rd, 1975. And Joseph stayed in federal service until July 23, 1987. So that's about 12 years. And then he left. But then 3 years later, on July 23rd, 2000, Joseph comes back. And what does he come back as? Let's look at the facts here, Dan.
Yep.
When he left federal service, he had 12 years of service, correct? He had at least 5. Yes. Yep. And he left after December 31st, 1983.
Yep.
Now he's coming back, okay?
Yep.
So he is going to be hired as an offset employee, okay? Mm-hmm. And then he worked until July 31st, 2019, with another 19 years. He retired at the age of 60. So he had 12 years of service when he initially, before he left, and then he had 19 years of service when he came back, when he retired. So that's a total of 31 years of combined CSRS and FERS offset service. Now, to compute Joseph's offset amount, OPM contacted the Social Security Administration. This is when Joseph turned 62, okay? It turned out his calculated monthly benefit was $2,500. That's the amount of Joseph's monthly Social Security benefit at age 62, okay? So let's do the calculation here. What were the number of years of Joseph's FERS offset service? Just offset service. That was 19 years. From 19. Yep. So you divide 19 by 40 times 2,500, and it comes out to be $1,188. Trust my math, okay? Trust my math here, okay? Now, let's keep the following fact in mind. Joseph will get his full CSRS annuity starting from age 60 when he retired. Okay? His first annuity check was actually dated September 1st. I'm sorry, his first annuity check, since he retired on July 31st, 2019, he got his first annuity check dated September 1st, 2019, and that was a pure CSRS annuity check. All CSRS. Gotcha. It's all CSRS. No adjustments.
Yep.
Joseph got cost of living adjustments. The following January, he got a COLA applied to that CSRS annuity. But then, when Joseph turned age 62, all of a sudden, his CSRS annuity was reduced by $1,188.
Yep.
Now, the question I get all the time is, you mean Joseph's going to be subject to that $1,188 reduction for the rest of his life? And the answer is yes. But his annuity's going up by COLAs. He's getting CSEs and COLAs. Is that $1,188 also going to go up by COLAs? No. It stays the same. $1,188 does not go up, even though Joseph's CSRS annuity is going up.
Gotcha.
Now, what is Joseph? What's going to happen? What happens when? How can Joseph says, "Gee, I'm losing $1,200 a month, nearly $1,200 a month. That's a lot of money. That's a lot of money."
Yep.
Is there any way I can get that $1,200? And the answer is yes.
Security.
He can apply for Social Security. Remember, we just said that according to Social Security, Joseph's monthly benefit at age 62 is $2,500. He could apply for the $2,500, and he'll get it, and he'll get the $2,500 together with his FERS offset annuity check, and that'll more than make up the $1,188 reduction to his annuity. He'll get it back in that sense.
Gotcha. So, out of the gate, before 62 and after 62 matters. And as far as how it's all going to play out. Now, Joseph can also wait. He can wait to his full retirement age. He can wait until 70, right? He's not required to go in at 62 for Social Security.
For Social Security. And this is what I tell FERS offset annuitants, that if you can put off that Social Security as long as possible, it relates to your benefit. Because Joseph, if he's taking his Social Security at age 62, his Social Security has been reduced depending on his full retirement age. If his full retirement age, let's say, is 66, he is losing 25% by taking it at age 62. If he waits until his full retirement age, he'll get his full Social Security. Better, if he delays Social Security past his full retirement age, for every year he waits past his full retirement age, he gets 8% more per year until age 70. So what I'm saying is, potentially, Joseph could get 32% more in that monthly benefit. I'm just doing a quick calculation here. That $2,500, okay, that $2,500 would be at full retirement age. His monthly benefit would be about $3,333. And if he waits till 70, he would get $4,400 in Social Security benefit. So that is an incentive for Joseph to work. So then CSRS offset annuitants, what am I supposed to do then in the meantime about that $1,188 reduction to my CSRS annuity? Well, you could draw from your TSP. Maybe you have some IRA income. Maybe you want to go out and get another job to help make up that deficit. And you can.
A lot of options. A lot of
options. You know
options.
what I mean?
Yep.
There
absolutely.
is another option. I just want to mention something, and this is another big problem when it comes to CSRS offset annuitants. We talk about the Social Security offsets, and there are two big ones when it comes to CSRS annuitants. One is called the WEP, the Windfall Elimination Provision, the WEP, and the other is the government pension offset. Now, the WEP reduces one's own Social Security. I am a CSRS annuitant. I am drawing my Social Security. I waited till 70. But my Social Security has been reduced, not eliminated, reduced as a result of being subject to this windfall elimination provision. I don't want to get into too many details here, but let me just say this, that in order to avoid the WEP, you have to have at least 30 years of what Social Security calls substantial Social Security earnings. It's been my experience, Dan, because many CSRS offset annuitants worked in private industry where they accumulated nice amounts of Social Security benefits. They had nice earnings.
Sure.
And when they came back to federal service, they were under Social Security, also earning a nice amount of earnings subject to Social Security. That many CSRS offset annuitants are not subject to the windfall elimination provision. And this is what I teach when I teach classes. And I point this out in this column too, in this column that I wrote in February. The other offset, Dan, you got to be aware of, is called the government pension offset, the GPO. Now, what the GPO does is it reduces, in most cases, it eliminates any type of spousal or former spousal Social Security benefit that you could get if someone is married or was married to someone, and it turns out that their former spouse's Social Security or their spouse Social Security is a lot more than theirs. Example, my wife has been paying into Social Security her entire life. Her Social Security benefit is a lot more than mine. I cannot draw on half of hers because I am subject to the government pension offset.
Gotcha.
Here's what I hope everybody is hearing, especially CSRS offset annuitants. A CSRS offset annuitant is not subject to the government pension offset. It says so on the Social Security website in bold letters, not subject to the GPO. So if there is a CSRS offset annuitant out there who is thinking about maybe starting to draw their Social Security, and let's say they're married, they should check their spouse's Social Security amount to see if their spouse's Social Security is a lot more than theirs.
Good idea.
And if it turns out that half of their spouses or former spouses, if they're divorced and they've been divorced for at least 2 years and married to the former spouse at least 10 years, they can draw on their former spouse's Social Security. But their spouses or former spouses has to be a lot more. In particular, if half of their spouses or former spouses more than theirs, they are entitled to receive half of their spouses or former spouses. Now, there are a lot of other little rules regarding spouse benefits. That's the subject of another podcast, okay?
Yep.
But I wanted to just mention that
No,
because
that's important.
that's
So
another
hear that,
area
folks.
of misunderstanding.
Yep. Okay, so we just made it through a couple of pretty good briar patches there. Briar patch number one was, determining if you're offset, and then how do you calculate what happens, and then two more with the WEP and the GPO. So now we're coming to some good news part of your article, and that's cost of living adjustments. So how do COLAs work for the CSRS offset people?
Okay, so upon retiring from federal service, a service offset employee is eligible for his or her first cost of living adjustment. They get the first one, effective January 1st of the year following the month of the previous year they were retired. So, like I was doing the example with Joseph. Joseph retired on July 31st, 2019. So he was eligible for his first COLA effective January 1st, 2020. And he got it the following year. Now, some years there are no COLAs. We'll not count those. We're just talking about years there are COLAs. Okay. Yep. And CSRS and CSRS offset annuitants get the same COLAs as Social Security recipients. Like, for example, this past January, there was a 5.9% COLA.
Gotcha.
That was that CSRS annuitants like myself received. I'm a CSRS annuitant, and now I'm drawing Social Security. I got the same COLA on my Social Security benefit. Okay?
That's good.
So, okay. I point out, though, that until the offset CSRS offset annuitant who's just drawing a CSRS annuity will get that COLA on their CSRS annuity, and once they start drawing their Social Security benefit, they decide to draw their Social Security or half of their spouses or all of their deceased spouses, they get the same COLA applied to their Social Security. Once again, Dan, the amount of the offset amount, that offset in Joseph's case, remember, it was $1,188.
Yep.
It does not go up by any COLAs.
Yep.
Okay? So
that's great.
Things
That's
get
awesome.
better over time, Dan.
Absolutely. And so rounding it out, you wouldn't be you if you didn't remember the survivors. So tell us about how survivorship works here.
Oh, yes. One of the great benefits for federal employees that they can give a survivor annuity benefit, and most logical person is to a spouse. That's both CSRS and FERS employees can give a survivor benefit to their spouses, and so can CSRS offset individuals who are married. But it's a little more complicated, okay? So when a CSRS offset annuitant dies, their spouse gets initially would be entitled to a full CSRS survivor benefit. Full. However, the amount of the survivor benefit payable to a surviving spouse with the CSRS offset annuitant may be reduced if the surviving spouse is eligible for Social Security survivor benefits based on the deceased federal service covered by Social Security. In other words, whatever Social Security the CSRS offset individual and employee earned while in federal service, that Social Security benefit the surviving spouse may be entitled to, okay?
Gotcha.
We're assuming that the surviving spouse's own Social Security is not more than the deceased CSRS offset annuitants. But if a surviving spouse is not entitled to a Social Security survivor benefit, then the surviving spouse is paid the full CSRS survivor annuity benefit. So,
okay.
In essence, what it means is that if we have a CSRS offset individual who's married to another individual, and that other individual, let's say, worked in private industry his or her entire life, chances are that that individual's Social Security is more than the CSRS their CSRS offset spouses. Therefore,
gotcha.
When the survivor annuity benefit will be paid, there will be no reduction to the CSRS survivor benefit.
That's a nice feature. That is a very nice feature.
I tell you something, Dan, I know I'm the first to tell you, this is complicated stuff.
Absolutely.
And we talk about it somewhat during our webinars. We have, as part of Serving Those Who Serve, we have a CSRS webinar, not every month. The next one will be held in April. You can go onto the Serving Those Who Serve website. I think the calendar is up through March. And
it is.
April calendar.
Yep.
Okay. April calendar will be out very shortly. And if you're a CSRS or a CSRS offset employee, even an annuitant, please consider taking that webinar.
Yes.
It's so refreshing. And also, Dan, and this is really for the SERVS offset individuals, please take advantage of Part 2. We offer something called Part 2 during this webinar, in which you can meet
Very true.
with a Serving Those Who Serve representative.
Yep.
And those individuals are more than happy to answer any additional questions you have about SERVS offset.
Yep.
I've worked with several of those representatives who have asked me questions about SERVS offset. There's some very unique questions, and I'm more than happy to give my assistance.
Yep.
It hurts me to know that these individuals cannot go to their HR personnel and get a straight answer. One of the problems, in all fairness to HR and personnel, is that these individuals working in HR and personnel offices now, they're all FERS employees. They came into the government way after 1984. They had no idea about the SERVS. They were not trained properly when it comes to SERVS and SERVS, how it came about.
Very true.
Also, it hurts me where individuals go to the Social Security Administration to have questions about their Social Security benefits when it comes to being a SERVS, for SERVS employees or SERVS office employees. They're not getting the right answers. So it's really our pleasure in doing this service, helping those federal employees out there get the right answers that they rightly deserve.
100%. Amen, brother. Amen. Okay, my friend, you've really helped some folks with a specific challenge, and I get it. We may not have, 2,000 people listen to this one, or we may, I don't know. But if you know somebody who you think might be CSRS offset and you happen to be listening, they go, oh, wait, this doesn't apply to me. Share it with them, because one of the things that we're really working to do is make sure that there's something out there that's easy to understand, easy to get to. And nobody does it better than Ed. You are truly a treasure, my friend, for us and the federal community. We appreciate what you do. And especially, as you say, the stuff that we learn together, the stuff that you teach us on our team. And folks, that is a wrap. We are Serving Those Who Serve. Be sure to subscribe to this podcast on our YouTube channel or Spotify if you prefer. Please remember to share it with friends and strangers. Check us out on Twitter and LinkedIn. And as Ed mentioned, don't miss our live webinars every week. You can find that at stwserve.com. You will see the big blue webinar button. Just click it, and it will take you to the menu. Guru comes to you, reach you where you are, teach you where you are, serve you where you are. Sign up for one, sign up for all. Read Ed every week in the Fed Zone at blog@stwserve.com or at fed-zone.com. So for Ed, the crew at Serving Those Who Serve, and me, Dan Sipe, good luck, Godspeed, and above all, remember, it's your FedLife. So make it a great one, because you deserve it. Stay well, everybody. We are out.
Thank you for listening to the FedLife podcast. Click the subscribe button below to be notified when new episodes become available. The information covered and posted represents the views and opinions of the guest and does not necessarily represent the views or opinions of Serving Those Who Serve or Raymond James. The content has been made available for informational and educational purposes only. The content is not intended to be a substitute for professional investing advice. Always seek the advice of your financial advisor or other qualified financial service provider with any questions you may have regarding your investment planning. Securities offered through Raymond James Financial Services Incorporated, member FINRA SIPC. Investment advisory services offered through Raymond James Financial Services Advisors Incorporated. Serving Those Who Serve is not a registered broker-dealer and is independent of Raymond James Financial Services.
Raymond James is not affiliated and does not endorse the opinions or services of any of the quoted professionals or their respective firms. Any opinions are those of Dan Sipe and not necessarily those of RJFS or Raymond James. This case study is for illustrative purposes only. Individual cases will vary. Raymond James is not affiliated with and does not endorse the opinions or services of the quoted professionals or their respective organizations.
Neither Raymond James Financial Services nor any Raymond James financial advisor renders advice on tax issues. These matters should be discussed with the appropriate professional. Investing involves risk, and you may incur a profit or loss regardless of strategy selected, including diversification and asset allocation.